I'd start with is her name. So in the Hebrew, her name is, and my Hebrew pronunciations are probably bad, but is Chava, which means mother of all living, or different ways of putting that, and that's from Genesis 3:20. And I guess the question sort of I posed to myself as I was thinking through the question that kept reoccurring, I guess, to me was if I threw out everything I had been conditioned and taught and just have sort of been imprinted upon our global, at least in Christianity, Christian world, let's say, our global consciousness of Eve and the original sin and all of all of the weight and the heaviness that comes along with it. And so I guess the question I would pose is what if the story is less about this temptress, which some people might say Eve was the temptress, the foul woman, this, that, and the other thing, but rather more about the birth of moral responsibility and this idea of making a choice to know, to understand, to go deeper, to not just blindly submit to authority, but rather examine the truth of things. And so I guess as we go through this, I would invite, whether you love Eve, hate Eve, whatever your perspective is, and I respect all views on this, but if you can, I was just curious if our listeners are willing to suspend judgment for just this piece of time we have together and just get curious and see what resonates and have as much sense as an old cow. And if we eat the hay and spit out the sticks, if it's something good, enjoy it, see how it fits in your worldview and changes your life. If not, well, cool. It's not everything is for everyone. So
Yeah.
I don't know but I love the idea that her name is literally life, Chava. This idea of bringing life, the mother of all living, and I mean, what a better introduction or commentary
Right.
on femininity and the divine feminine than that, to be called the mother of all life.
Yes. Yeah. And I think to go back to one thing that you said about the story not being about a temptress, but being about moral responsibility, but also curiosity, truly. I think it's interesting the way that these two things are within the biblical story tied together. Whereas for me, in my personal worldview, and also I think us in modern times, tend to look at curiosity as a good thing, right? It tends to be colored as staying curious and being a lifelong learner and be a sponge and soak up knowledge. And the morality assigned to that curiosity here is certainly one of danger. A little bit more, well, I guess curiosity killed the cat, right? We do certainly have some knowledge in the modern zeitgeist of be careful how curious you get. But this idea that of Lifebringer too, I think is so interesting because in myths that we can draw before this first myth of Adam and Eve in creation myths, there are so many stories about how actually procreation itself comes from this story. And in the Christian myth, it is, it's the pain of childbirth that is introduced after Adam and Eve are cast out of the Garden of Eden. But actually, in historic myths, childbirth itself is something that is introduced because immortality is taken away. Once human beings become mortal, other Evian figures introduce childbirth as a way to continue, kind of beat mortality in this certain sense. And so I really do like this almost root that we get there with her name of mother of all living, that in a lot of these myths, she is the one that is the first mother, that says there is a reason why we need procreation because it sustains life that has been taken away from this sin. And I think that that's a really beautiful element tied to these predecessors of the creation story.